Hello there, glad you could join us again for another edition of the program. I'm Victor Matthias. The Buhari administration has come under intense scrutiny recently over the appointments he has made since taking over the helms of affairs in mid-2015. Critics characterize the appointments as overwhelmingly lopsided, lacking in gender balance and regional equity. And that's our focus on the program today. But before we get into that discussion, let's take a moment and see what the social community was about in the past week. Footage of two black men's death have sparked protests in cities around the world. While Aston Sterling was shot dead in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, Philando Castile was shot during a traffic stop in Minnesota. This caused outrage throughout the black race and a reprisal from a sniper who claimed he was mad about the recent killings of black people by the police. The annual Kano Durbar got rave reviews as thousands of men, including the Emir of Kano, Mohammed Sanusi II, were on horses adorned with garments and regalia during a royal parade, displayed a colorful and spectacular cultural and traditional horsemanship to celebrate the Eid al-Fitr. Nigerians joined residents of Benue State to mourn the death of their kith and kin after a raid by suspected herdsmen claimed over 80 lives. They also channeled their grievances to the appropriate quarters, the government, to live up to its constitutional responsibility and protect the lives and property of its citizens. Well, there you go. Those were the most talked about topics in the social cyberspace in the past week. But to begin our discussion, let's turn our attention to our online contributors. Welcome to all of you. Well, now let's begin now. So much has been said about these appointments, but what is your own opinion on the appointments made so far by the president?
The appointment made by the president has been lopsided, and I kind of agree with people who actually have grievances towards it. But of course, I think I am more focused on performance and results at the end of the day, because where the appointments are actually coming from really does not make so much. I mean, it does not guarantee success. I mean, if we have everybody from all parts of the country getting appointment, it does not necessarily mean you are going to achieve results. It does not mean that you cannot fail. But more importantly is my focus on results and achievements at the end of his tenure.
I agree with most of what they said. I mean, the question of competence in appointments versus like having inclusiveness in those appointments are not mutually exclusive. My own question is that one can question the actual competence of some of the people that have been appointed. For example, the INEC chairman. Under this dispensation, we've hardly had a successful, drama-free, and conclusive election. And that makes me ask, so what was the basis for the appointment of the INEC chairman, for instance? You understand? So while we talk about the lopsidedness in the appointments, another thing that makes one worry is some of the statements that have been credited to the president in the past concerning how he was going to treat certain regions of the country that didn't vote for him versus certain regions that did. So when you put two and two together, it makes one really worried, and I think that's the reason why there has been a lot of outcry. There's been a huge outcry over these appointments and the fact that they don't seem to reflect the unity of the country.
So when it comes to security and other issues, I think I will even put it, there's a strong bias because the statistics is not right, and I think one way or the other people are speculating around issues that has to do with sentiment. So federal character is not fully engaged in that area when it comes to security and some other issues. Then at the same time too, I think Northeast and Northwest has more of the appointments than the rest, and it seems that they have more of the key appointments than the rest. Then I think when it comes to gender equality, so we have about 15% in total that goes to women. That's about 18 women out of one, compared to the 103 men appointed. So when you look at all of this, I think there's no justification for it, especially when it comes to the aspect of engaging women, the gender aspect. There's no justification for it. Then at the same time, too, when it comes to the aspect of the security, so far there's no justification because more of the appointments are from the northern regions.
The lopsidedness in the appointments have not only been beyond the ethnic part of it or the geographical aspect of it. Also, in terms of gender, it has been lopsided, I must agree. And of course, I think there are still correctional methods to that, because so far so good. Actually, to be very sincere, we live in a patriarchal society, which tends to push men more than women. And of course, I think that we are getting better, of course, because so far so good. We probably are not there yet, but we are not where we used to be in terms of gender equality. And of course, it's still a big issue in our society, and it's still even in low places in the society, it's still an issue, and let alone in government. So of course, sometimes we need to even look at our tradition and our religion. Sometimes it tends to put the women in the how do I put this now? It tends to put women in the back, kind of, and until we begin to see the potentials in this in women, we may never think that it is important to put them on the front line of some of those strategic and important positions.
One issue that has been missing from the debate is with regard to inclusiveness, with regard to like gender. So we've had a lopsidedness in appointments of men as opposed to women. Women have only been about 15% of the appointments made so far, and it's necessary for the president to make adjustments in this regard. Because if you're going to argue that the appointments are made were made based on competence, then you are also almost invariably saying that the women in the country are not competent enough to hold important and sensitive positions. So it's important for the president to take adequate corrections in regard to inclusiveness going forward.
So you're talking about competence. From all the appointments so far, I don't think there's been any competent hands on board, because there hasn't been changes. Then when it comes to security issue locally, there's a lot of crisis, so we still had about 81 people dead, attacked a couple of days ago. No press statement, nothing. The coverage of Boko Haram is the only thing that looks as if Boko Haram attacks has been mitigated or something. But in reality, the statistics are still high. They're surging. Boko Haram is growing stronger and growing in ammunition. So Nigerian security is in tatters. So everything is in shambles. So when it comes to the appointment, practically no part of the economy is functioning as far as I'm concerned. And the only campaign that the government has, the federal government has now, is around the anti-corruption move, which basically is ruining the economy, which everybody knows. So the thing is, when it comes to competency or saying competent appointment, I don't think there's anybody competent in this government, and that's clear enough.
All right, guys, just hold it for a second. We'll take a quick break and we'll be back shortly. Stay with us.